I think I love the example you gave of the buffets and the things, because this was my dissertation, undergrad architecture.
Really?
About social. Yeah, I've been thinking about these things for long. Social acceptance of earth building. So I did a study where I interviewed Joado. You might have heard of him. He's an architect who built his house beautiful in earth. It's been featured in magazines all over the world. Not so much in Ghana, which we should redress. Like, people travel from abroad to come and see this building. Bamboo, earth, beautiful flowing design. So I interviewed, like, we talked about his building, but I also interviewed people around his area who talked about how the building has changed their perception of what they think of how you can build with natural materials, and how the next time they build, they are interested in exploring it because they've seen it.
Turn around. Turning point, yeah. He's a turn around.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran. Welcoming you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News TV, the Springboard channel, and the Graphic Communications Group. Today we continue our series on Thinkathon. It's just about the power of ideas. Socrates said something I like very much. He says the unexamined life is not worth living. So in this series, we bring together thinkers, practitioners in various fields who are propounding theories, sharing ideas, challenging the way we think, and find out, can we be faster, more efficient, more sustainable, better at what we do? And just thinking alone is the beginning of change. After all, the Greek philosophers used to spend time thinking and conceptualizing new ways to do the things that they do. Our guest for today is an architect and researcher who's worked on different areas of endeavor and who brings her thoughts to bear on the history, theory, and politics of architecture. Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be invited. And
it's just a blessing.
Here. Yes.
So let's explore what you have been doing since. Let me trace from, let's see, Kumasi to Oxford to London to California to Michigan.
Yes.
What's been happening over the past decade and a half?
Yes, bit of a long story, which I will condense to this. So I finished architecture school in KNUST. Architecture school in KNUST is 4 years of undergraduate plus 2 years of postgraduate. So I did a master's in architecture after my BSc architecture. So while in architecture school, as usual, you do internships. So you work with various architects, you learn from them, but you're also forming an idea of what you want to do, what you are interested in, what you like. So I did a lot of that. I worked in different places. But one thing that's really stood out to me, and I noticed about myself in all these internships and attachments and talking to my senior architects, was that I was really interested in the why and the how, almost as much as I was interested in drawing very nice buildings and seeing them being built. So I there was something underlying in it. So right from KNUST, I did first National Service as a teaching assistant, where I continued doing this kind of work. Then after that, I worked for about a year with this foundation called Archi Africa Foundation, which was really into programming around architecture. They used to have an event at Golden Tulip called Adventures in the Diaspora. Some people might know about it. It doesn't happen anymore. So really just exposing myself to one aspect of life and work in architecture that I would enjoy. Following that, I went to work as a design lead in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, which is a thing I always advise people to do, like take the weird and strange job offers and opportunities.
Right.
it opens your mind. Sometimes you take that and come back to where you were. Sometimes you go and you realize, okay, this is really what I want to do. So I like living in Yaoundé, but more importantly, I had a key experience in Yaoundé, which really just sets me on this trajectory. So I was working with a global funded project, building malaria prevention into buildings, architecture, retrofitting or building new buildings. So I was a design fellow. I was very young at that time. I'm going to do research and build what has not been seen before in this world. So at the time I was really interested, as I still am, in architectural history and culture. So when I was tasked to come up with a prototype design, I did research into architectural styles, historical architectural styles in Cameroon, materials, and I designed something that was out of bamboo, out of earth brick, and part of my research also said that an important part of community projects was to present your work to your community instead of just building something for them and expecting them to just go in. So I had my presentation with my laptop, everything, and presented it as a community we're going to build for. And that was one of my worst presentations ever to this day. They were not happy. They asked me, will your father build with mud? Will your father build with bamboo? I said, oh, no, but this is good. This is really how we should build it. They were not happy with it. They thought I had disrespected them by coming to propose mud buildings for them. So after I had cried and got over it and like, I will do architecture again, maybe I'll go and rice farm, I don't know. I sat and thought about it again. I wondered, so why would people in a country that has such a rich tradition of earth building, of wood building, of bamboo building, not want to use these materials? Why is it now associated with poverty and low class? And around this time, there was also a kind of, I guess we'll call it a renaissance around the world, where architects were advocating sustainability and return to these materials. So why is it that outside Africa, people are now finding value in this, and we hear that it's our tradition? We don't want it. So with that,
I have a feeling these thoughts permeate not just architecture, but fashion, a lot of things.
A lot of things.
Please continue, so I didn't distract you.
A lot of things. So with that, I, again, talking to my mentors, senior colleagues and other people about these thoughts and how I could pursue them, I decided to go and do a second master's and possibly a PhD. Studying it. So this is what led me to Oxford to do an MSc in African Studies. And my proposed project was really about understanding this history of architecture and construction in Ghana, more specifically in Africa more broadly. So I did that. And while I was doing it, I had the idea that, okay, because I still had that desire to go and just go out and build something. So together with a colleague of mine called Emmanuel, we founded what we call a social architecture organization, which was to advocate for people who ordinarily cannot afford architects and to deliver projects for that. So after Oxford, I was here for a while doing projects. So we did a playground plus reading nook somewhere in Omanjo. We had a project in Tema, small community interventions, very tiny things. And that as well, I enjoyed it, but I saw some things doing that work. And one that really sticks with me was trying to do a project, a vending project in Ashaiman, and going there when it had rained. And someone was living in a house which flooded when it rained. And if it rained, she had to put some sticks on some sofa and sleep in. And I remember again at this time, I was again thinking, why are we here? How do we come to these things? What is happening here? So eventually, that's what led me to do this PhD, studying the history, politics, and theories of architecture in Africa. Yes. So yeah, this is the condensed story of what led me to go back to school and think again of the why and the how. Who gets to live where, who doesn't get to live there, and what are these factors that make these conditions possible?
Okay, let's swing across the Atlantic or the Pacific. My teacher will be across the Pacific to the US and find out what
Yeah. So US was, so after I had finished my
It was Atlantic
PhD,
rather. Actually,
I'm not even.
this is Atlantic. Believe me.
Please forgive me, social studies teacher. So yeah, so after my PhD at SOAS, I went to do a postdoc for 1 year at Stanford. And so I think I didn't mention, so while I was doing my PhD, I won a grant for a project to digitize old architectural archives in Accra. And these archives as well, I found in one of like my Kululu wanderings. I was doing my research into the history of architecture, and I came across people who told me, okay, there's this, go to this place, go to this place. And I came across this collection of building permit applications from 1894.
You're joking.
As part of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. It was to build, for permission to build.
Yeah.
The British had people submit the permit application, and in the application, you have to have an outline of your building, a drawing of your building.
We still do.
Yeah, we still do. So at that time, it was really just pencil, like they just draw the box. But right now, if you do the permit, it's like really detailed. You have your septic drawings, your engineering drawings, so many studies. But before, it's like one page or half a page with just like a pen line and this. So I saw this. But as I went in there, as I'm touching these documents, they're crumbling in my hand because they are so old and they're not kept in archival storage conditions. So I got this grant to go and digitize it from the British Library. And I did this alongside my PhD.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been very fascinating.
It was fascinating with a lot of work. Now I will not advise anybody to do it.
Why?
I was so much, because my PhD wasn't on the same topic. My PhD was on the architecture of education. And this was it was like a passion project because I didn't want the material to disappear. So I was like, so it's like you're almost like leading this project while doing a full-time PhD.
Passion projects can change your life.
They can, and it did, right?
Yeah. So advice.
So what I would say is because that was not the only things I was doing, because it's a thing I've learned now in my old age that is really better to, even if you're going to do 3 or 4 things, it's better to do than 10 things, because I was very overstretched.
Our passion project.
Yeah.
It was our passion project.
Yeah.
And it changed our lives.
When it goes well, it goes so well.
It has to go well.
It goes so well. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Michigan. What are you doing there now?
So at Michigan, I'm an assistant professor of architecture. So I started that in 2023. Again, a very random job that I didn't even know I wanted when I applied for it. Not because the job was amazing, but I was in America and I had been living in the UK. I thought I was going to Stanford for a short fellowship and come back. So when this opportunity came, it was a bit difficult, but multiple people sent me the job description because someone said it's as if you wrote the job description for yourself. So it was a job teaching history of architecture, research in history of architecture, and I'm quoting the description, from a counter-hegemonic standpoint. By that meaning, sort of under history from below, the things that we overlook, we don't think for, because a lot of standard architectural history is, okay, there's the Greeks, there's the Romans, like Industrial Revolution and things like that. And it's about the grand buildings designed by architects. And now it's changed, but at the time that I was growing up, that was a lot of it. But there's also from below, right? So even as there was the Parthenon, as there was the Hagia Sophia, people were living in these places. They were building. They had their own taste. They had their own trends. So the why, the how, the small, the overlooked. So miraculously, gratefully, I got this job offer, which then meant I had to pack up my life and move to the US, to Michigan, Ann Arbor.
So now you're swinging through Ghana from Michigan. But let's look at what you've done and what we can learn from it. And I'm going to take you back to Yaoundé.
Yes.
So the world seems to be looking at what we seem to be running away from. And you mentioned that what was original to us is seen as symptomatic of poverty.
Yes.
You've done some work on formalization.
Yeah.
Will there be a correlation between that work and the whole notion of something being glossed over or being overlooked as being inferior? Help us to understand architecture within that context.
Yes. Exactly, very direct correlation, and all that thinking, all that was happening to me from a student in architecture school, seeing these things but not having the language or the theory to understand it, eventually led me to this. In my history class, I talk about the regulation and designation of architecture in Africa. So a lot of British colonized places had the same experience. So there's sort of
experience
of the colonization, which I'm about to go into details.
So take us into it and let's understand it. Are you saying that we began to design like our colonial masters?
It's part of it. So I break it down into 4 modes or sections.
Okay.
So the first was on the designation. So there was a travel writer named Edith Brown who visited the Gold Coast around the 1920s. She writes about her experience landing first in Accra before they will sort of stop on all the ports before they get to Accra. So she describes going through Takoradi and coming to Accra. She talks about landing in Accra and just how horrible everything was. She uses words like the native quarters were crammed. They didn't have any good sense of design and everything. And that's this kind of description. If you pick that book in isolation, you're like, oh, yeah, we must have been terrible. We must have not known how to build. But if you go back 50 years earlier, there's a writer called Thomas Edward Bowditch, who also was an appointee of the colonial government. He led what was called a mission from Cape Coast to Ashanti because they were trying to get the Ashanti kingdom to trade with them and deal with them. And he does a description of his whole trip. You read Bowditch's description, he's amazed. He's like, wow, these people were building so beautifully, has drawings of the architecture. He even talks at the time of how we had flushing toilets in Kumasi at the time when it was a rarity back home in England. So you read those descriptions and then you come back and you see the later description. So for me, when I see that, I go and look for other sources. And what I notice in the meantime is that the policy towards colonialization changed. They were not so much trying to befriend and co-opt as much as impose and dominate. So that regulation of architecture, that designation of describing the thing as bad and poor was part of it. So that's one aspect. Then another aspect that we see more of is sort of imposition of architectural forms, dominant architecture. So Ghana, we have about over 40 forts and castles dotted along the coast. So those castles are built to intimidate, to impose, to instill fear in people. And we know what was happening around that time was the transatlantic slave trade. So that's one thing. In the earlier part
was Atlantic, I told you.
Towards Atlantic, yes.
Yeah. The social studies teacher will now be happy.
Thank you.
I told you.
So that was one aspect of it, was those ones. But in later times, it was things like building prisons. We didn't have prisons. Building a prison, a place of fear. Then something like the Supreme Court, which we use now. But if you think of, or if you've seen any old pictures of how our cities used to look, you imagine that you think of Elmina and you think of Elmina Castle there. It's really strange. And even their colonial reports of how even when the walls were crumbling, they'll whitewash the building so that it stands out from the surrounding countryside. So that's one. Then we come to the more subtle, less brutal or violent one. So one is regulation. You need a permit to build. Your building must not be in earth. So that was it. So the British outlawed building in earth and natural materials. They said you have to use bent brick, concrete, iron roofing sheets. So I've said 3. The 4th one is about taste, which we can go into if we have time. But all these.
So designation, imposition, regulation, and taste.
And taste, yes.
Let's fast track and see what I see. What you consider to be intentionality in using design, nomenclature, regulation to push us towards a certain kind of thinking. You are proposing or propounding that we should revise our thoughts about that kind of thinking.
Yes.
How should we think now? What should we do now?
Yes.
And how do we retain our identity without going after the ludicrous just to prove a point.
Yes. So I'm very against just going back to the past for going to the past. We are a different people. A lot of things we can't change it. We can't go back to the past. We don't have a time machine. Well, some people might, but we don't have it. So for me, it's about taking the essence and what's good in those past techniques of building, the past materials, the past thinking about space, and then using what we have with modern technology, modern materials to achieve those ends. So I'll just give an example, right? And it's a thing a lot. So if you talk to architects, they'll say a lot. It's things like in a part of the world, you need to have cross breeze, cross ventilation in your building. If you're going to have airflow, it's not just about thermal comfort. It's not just about you're going to feel more comfortable in your room, but it's also good for, like I said, I work on a malaria prevention project. It's also good for malaria. It's good for certain diseases that affect our part of the world. So if we think of how people used to build over thousands, hundreds of years in this area, the tips they use, the things that they use, why throw them away and just go and import a way of building for a different climate, a different context, a different culture, right? Something that I feel sad that we've lost and we are losing from our architecture is the courtyard, right? People are borrowing this and using it in other places, and we are losing our courtyards, this semi-indoor, outdoor space that can be so much in either a residential building, even a commercial facility. Again, it helps with regulating temperature and climate, but it's also social. It's like a place that people can come together and foster a social cohesion. Right?
Yes, you're helping me to think outside this and to see leaving out these courtyards, leaving out these social spaces. Of course, I'm thinking back to boarding school and where we used to converge and release tension. When the seniors are beating you, you sit there and compare notes. Did they push you? Did they knock you? Did they put you under the bed and jump on the bed? I mean, so we just compare notes, and just by talking about it and laughing, you leave feeling a bit better.
Yes.
And you're saying that these were not just cultural or social, there was also the benefit of air circulation, and in our context, it had other benefits beyond what one would ordinarily see.
Exactly.
Would you say that eliminating these from our architecture has made us more individualistic and also possibly increased the mental health pressures that we face? So, a bit of a stretch, but think about it.
I would say, I would have a hunch about it. I would widely hypothesize about it, but as a researcher, because there's no actual data, I won't connect it.
If I had a psychologist in the studio, they'll be jumping for joy. They say, there you go, there you go.
It doesn't help. So even having high fence walls, right, versus the low hedge, it does something. Like when you enter a gated community and all the fences are high with the super thing, even when you are in, you feel something about the space, right? It's like, okay, something securitized is happening here. Am I supposed to be here? What's going to happen? And it's another thing we've imposed, and it's not for no reason, right? Because insecurity, people feel insecure, people are scared. And again, here's where the politics comes in, right? So there's other things happening that then affects how we build and how we live with other people in community.
Hey, Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, so what do you do? You build your house, somebody wants to jump there. Ideally, you have a fence.
Yes.
Some puppies running around. You sitting in front of the house and waving your neighbors as you pass. That is some time ago. It would have been nice. But these days, somebody is jumping the fence, stealing your car, stealing your car parts or your tire or something, breaking into your house when you are away.
Yeah.
And just life is not the same.
It's not the same.
How do you retain the beauty of the life you describe and the reality of recently going for an engagement of traditional marriage in a gated community with security and entering and finding a house inside it with a high wall and the barbed wire fence? I'm like, please, how different is this from a prison?
Right?
When I come back from this break, we'll find out from you. Having said all that we have said, Acts 16 verse 31, what must we do to be saved? This is the architectural edition of Springboard in Virtual University. My guest, Dr. Kuukuwa Manful. She's a researcher. I love researchers. They are just asking questions. If you don't have the answer, don't worry, but they will still ask the questions. How do we revisit our architecture to retain our cultural context, pay attention to our climate. So culture, context, and climate, these 3 C's, you can't ignore them and build something just because your next door neighbor builds it and looks nice. How do you integrate all the thoughts we are discussing into your building? If you are about to build and you haven't started, please don't go away. After the break, we'll find out what should we do differently. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. Let's go for a break. When we come back, let's fashion a new way to build. Please don't go away.
Still, Misaka, and Nemum was a summer brabo, and it can afford swab.
Misaka pensions, Caro.
Misaka order Sika.
Misaka insurance.
Misaka loan.
Momo Fogusuri echumaden, dia boye nyina ye sika ho ban. Se MTN ana momo jumaye ni befrewa or the 0244 300,000 ene befrew. Na numpo orin bitsaw one time password ana se upin code enti wonso ye wa femu die na ma weni na ho na wonsa enka wo momo.
No stress. Submit your insurance claim online in just seconds on the Claims Express portal. Simply upload your national ID, cost estimates, pictures, and more to get started. Submit online, track progress, and get paid fast. Skip the paperwork and get back on the road with ease. Visit claimexpress.enterprisegroup.net.gh for easy claims and quick payouts with absolutely no stress.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Watch out for a brand new series to celebrate the 17th anniversary of Springboard, your virtual university. It's dubbed Thinkathon, the power of ideas. This series aims to bring together modern Ghanaian thinkers from business, education, the clergy, and governance to discuss vital issues to promote intellectual leadership and suggest solutions to Ghana's development. With host Reverend Albert Okran. We delve into the world of popular culture and social change with Professor of African and Gender Studies Akosia Atumako Ampofo on Sunday, 31st August. Subsequently, we begin September exploring the power of ideas in faith and society with the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, Most Reverend Professor Johnson Kwapna Asamoah Jedu. In this episode, we will consider what happens when vision surpasses sight. We will also explore the extraordinary story of overcoming adversity with Ephraim Aye Oraka Tete, a visually impaired scholar from Prampram who made history as the first student in 10 years to graduate from the University of Ghana with a perfect 4.0 GPA. On Nkrumah's birthday, 21st September, we reimagine Ghana's democracy and development with Yao Nsakon, a former corporate titan who turned fierce critique of broken systems, including what he calls the Santa Claus democracy. Don't miss any of these episodes on Springboard, your virtual university, on Sundays at 7 p.m. on Joy 99.7 FM and Springboard channel on YouTube. On Joy News, it's at 9 p.m. It is Thinkathon, the power of ideas.
Learn something new every week and be inspired by innovations, impact, and success stories of individuals making strides in the agricultural, agribusiness, technical, and vocational skill sectors on Ghana Grows Ejuma with Arabo Kumsin and Yabitha. Join us this and every Thursday on Facebook at 7 p.m. at Ghana Grows, also at Comfort Okran A and at Albert N.E. Okran. On Fridays at 4 p.m. on Joy 99.7 95.7 FM and on Sundays at 5:45 p.m. on TV3. Ghana Grows is an initiative of Mastercard Foundation in partnership with the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. If you are a young person and you want to be a part of our various interventions, call or WhatsApp Ghana Grows call center on 0308 255 775. Follow us on all our social media handles. Ghana Grows Ejuma. Hope Day.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, and to this Thinkathon series where we explore the power of ideas. Dr. Kuukuwa Manful is helping me to understand architecture, the history, the thinking, and also exploring the colonization of architecture around themes like the designation of it, the imposition, regulation, and I like the part about taste. He says we are embracing tastes that do not often reflect our climate, our context, and our culture. We'll find out from here, what should we do differently? And can we really go back to what we used to do without taking into context the current reality of our time and the pressures that go with the kind of work we do today? Let's take a message from our partners, the Enterprise Group. And the Enterprise Advantage tip for today says, how do I claim a medical service refund and how long does it take? And the response from Enterprise is that submit receipts and all supporting documents to Acacia, and your refund will be given to you directly in your account in 14 days. And that's your answer to the frequently asked question. This is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4777. Email info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. If you have heard about the Ghana Grows program and are thinking, how do I get in on the act? How do I find out what young people, especially young women, are doing in the areas of agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET? Please call or WhatsApp the hotline 030-8255-775. You'll find out some incredible things young people are doing and just get excited about the innovation, the creativity, the boldness, the courage, the exploring of ideas, and how gradually we are having this mindset shift about the prospects in these sectors. It's just a big thing. We should probably feature one of these days on Thinkathon. Also, to encourage you to sign up to the Springboard channel on YouTube, just go to YouTube, subscribe now, and turn on post notifications to catch us live whenever we publish any of these exciting broadcasts. Not just the virtual university, but everything we do here at Springboard. Doc, as part of our social engagement, every single edition of this program, we just look for somebody doing something that we think is worthy of commendation. And very often they don't even know. And we mention their name, their number, what they do, and people just patronize their work, and it's just nice. We just do it for fun.
Yeah.
And some businesses have seen quadrupling of sales because we mentioned them and just give them props.
Yeah.
And they call us back and they say, wow. I say, yeah, that's how to build a better society. Just help somebody, lift somebody up, especially young people. So today we're looking at Health Nexus Network. It's a health tech platform that enables the Internet of Things based tracking of hypertension, diabetes, and pregnancy to help the person with financial planning for health care. So it's an app that helps people with these conditions to have a better life. Find them on 055-454-8978 or email info@hnnworld.com. It's the Health Nexus Network. So hey, that's it.
I'll check it out myself.
You find somebody doing something exceptional, and if you are listening and watching and doing something that you think, hey, Springboard, give me the props, just send us your details in the comments section if you're watching us on social media, or send it to us via the Ghana Grows hotline, and we'll action it for you. 030-8255-775. That number must be on your favorites on your phone, and send it to us by WhatsApp, and we'll give it some props after we've checked it out to be sure that it's real. Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, what should we be doing differently if we are to abandon wholesale copying of what others are doing? How do we, for instance, you mentioned clay and bamboo in your trip to Yaoundé. So let me keep going back to Yaoundé, where you cried. How do we incorporate some of these traditional building materials like clay into what we do?
Yeah. So the first answer to that, what do we do differently? I think more of us should be talking to architects before we start our building projects. And I know there's a conception that architects are very expensive, and some are, but also there are all ranges of architects. Someone starting fresh from school, as in every other industry. Someone just starting from school will not charge you the way that somebody who has 30 years of experience will charge you. So you know your level and you find your level, and then you work with people. And lots of architects are ready to do projects with you. The second thing linked to that is listen to your architect. Listen to your professionals. They've gone to school for this. They have good ideas, research-backed ideas. It's a bit of a problem here in building that it's very client-driven. So it's like, it's my money. I say, let's do this. And sometimes the architect has no choice but to go with it. But just listen to them, listen to their ideas, and you might end up with something difficult. And then you asked about the materials.
You said difficult.
Oh, something different, yes. So yeah, you said the thing about the material. The good thing about it is that people have done this research already and it's there, and there's already companies operating in Ghana that are providing earth services. So the thing about what I said about we don't have to just go and lift wholesale from the past. So like in the past, in some of the earth buildings, it's the clay material and they stabilize it, which means they make it so that every rain will not wash it away with things like cow dung. We don't have to do that now. We have other chemical additives that we can use, and people are using it. So there's rammed earth construction around town. There's buildings coming up that are lovely with this rammed earth construction. There's something also called compressed earth block, which is a thing also with earth, with some of these additives to stabilize it. And I'm trying to remember some names. As you shouted some out, I also shout some out. So there's Samuel Siaong, you find him on Instagram, who has been doing compressed earth block for a while. There's many other companies. Like once you get this on social media, the algorithm will show you once you start searching. And these are durable, long-lasting, beautiful, environmentally appropriate materials that we already have here.
Let me throw a question at you now, just so we can keep track with the thoughts of our viewers and listeners. If I talk to anybody about building with bamboo, clay, or earth, as you call it, the first reaction will be, oh, how strong is it? 2, they'll say if the rain falls, it will wash away the earth. I mean, these are long-held ideas. And so anytime you mention this, you need to answer them. If not, people say, you know what, it's nice to see, but I won't risk
I'll not
mine.
do it.
And the third question will be, can you build multi-levels with it? So you probably want to answer this before we continue.
Yes, excellent questions, and for good reason, because we've all traveled on the road to our village and seen buildings that, like, the foundations almost eroded because it's built with earth. So these new modern kinds of earth building are not the same. So those ones are used with what are usually unstabilized earth or poorly stabilized earth. Now people don't use that anymore. So with the earth block I talked about, they use the earth, but they also add stabilizers, and it's also how they make the brick. It's not like Ben's brick. It's compressed with force, which leaves it very steady, and it lasts as long, if not even longer, than your normal cement or concrete building. Another thing linked to that is maintenance and maintenance culture. When our ancestors were building with earth, after every rainy season, they retouch the building. And it's a communal thing. It brings people together. They put it together.
Full sponge and dip it
and come
smear it, and then they'll be rubbing it against the building.
Sing and all those things. So
we should go back to that.
We don't need to go back to that because we are not there. But even our concrete buildings, we don't maintain. So maintenance is part of the life cycle of any project and any product. So you should also work that into it. It's part of it. So materials. Then you ask about how high. As high as you want. So in Yemen, before the war, in Sana'a, the capital, they have been using for generations, centuries, earth block, multi-level, 8 stories, 10-story buildings. And I'm talking earth, we have not even started talking about concrete yet. So imagine when you add your steel and your concrete to the earth, you can go as high as you want. So all these issues that very rightly were associated with it in the past are not a concern right now. They're all fine. And I want to also say that I'm not saying everybody should use earth. Sometimes where you build, there's no earth available, not close enough to make a difference. So you use what you have. This is what your architect is there for. You talk to your architects, they advise you, and you put it together.
One of the biggest points made in advocacy for building with earth is that it's cooler inside, and so you don't need that much spent on air conditioning. Would you speak to that?
Yeah, it is true, because the earth walls at the appropriate thickness work as temperature regulation, so they trap heat and release it later in the day. So that's one thing. But like I said, if you don't have that, when your architect can also design, make sure where they put the fenestration is the openings, the windows and the doors, how they arrange it, where they arrange it, how many they use, where they place it, can also help to cool your building. I talked about the courtyard. Like if you know how to put your voids and your spaces in their place as well, it also helps to do this, right? And now it's so hot. I think that breaks my heart when I go around this my city. Now we are destroying all the grass and trees on our compounds, and we are tiling it. And then we are like, why is Accra so hot? That's why Accra is so hot. So please, my appeal is please plant some grass.
And some trees.
And some trees.
And some greens.
Yes.
You know what? Well, Ghana Grows is a mindset change program. Yeah. So over 2 years ago, we started this journey to see, we've worked with young people for the past 2 decades. We've been very heavily involved in mindset change in entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we started this journey, parents would literally protest if their young person their child wanted to start a business. Mm-hmm. It's no longer the case. Young people are happily doing business right from school. Yeah. And so with the same leverage, we said, let's go into getting young people based on research that has shown that there are opportunities in the agriculture, agribusiness, and ATV sectors. To get a young person to be proud to be doing something in the whole value chain. And so now today you have people who have gone to KNUST doing plantain chips, packaging them, exporting them, and they are excited on Instagram, and people are buying from them, and they are building careers out of it. And the people also into agric, doing farms, doing agri-tech, bringing their high-level technologies into agriculture. But it's a mindset change thing. So is it possible? I mean, if I took, for instance, food. Today we go to a hotel and we don't get surprised when on Sunday afternoon, it is packed with people buying the buffets, Ghanaian foods, and but some time ago we abandoned it. Yes. But people led the mindset change thing, and it's no longer seen as poor. Yes. It's now prestigious on Sunday to go there, and the desserts are what do you call it? These black and white. We abandoned with all the alakwa and so on. Yes. And people are very happy with it, and they are paying top dollar for it. Yeah, like even weddings. Yes. Now weddings, they'll do kosiani meko and Charlie. Hey, seriously, with the asana and the sobolo and so on. Happily, it's a special addition. How do we recalibrate the thinking so that the person who is now going to build with earth is seen as the thing, not the one building with what you are saying is something that we have swallowed hook, line, and sinker. How do we change the mindset? So I think I love the example you gave of the buffets and the things, because this was my dissertation, undergrad architecture, about social. I've been thinking about these things for long. Social acceptance of earth building. So I did a study where I interviewed Joado. You might have heard of him. He's an architect who built his house, beautiful, in earth. It's been featured in magazines all over the world. Not so much in Ghana, which we should redress. Like people travel from abroad to come and see this building. Bamboo, earth, beautiful flowing design. So I interviewed, we talked about his building, but I also interviewed people around his area who talked about how the building has changed
their perception of what they think of how you can build with natural materials, and how the next time they build, they are interested in exploring it because they've seen it. So to see someone like this, like an important architect who has come, you know how we are in Ghana, he's come from America, he did a project with Brad Pitt, hey, but he has built this. Okay, that's high. So the example you gave about the hotel, if I go to Moving Pick and I see Alako, I'm like, okay, maybe it's classy like that. So I think like taste makers and influential people, this is a thing that I really want to push people to do. If you are building your new house, you have so much power to shift the change. Right, and because the thing that we do from tiling our compound also comes from our rich tastemakers, because they've tiled their compound. That's the thing to do. It's
destructive and not beneficial.
Exactly.
That's hip. Yeah. Let's talk about Soshiaki, a concept you've made quite popular, and architecture for the vulnerable, people who may not have the resources to do the big things that everybody aspires to. How can we bring the vulnerable into this conversation about architecture?
Thank you for that. So Soshiaki came from my experiences, like I mentioned, seeing just how poorly certain people were living, the kind of buildings that were available to them. And it came out from wanting to build something that provided architectural services to these people who would never have afford.
Is it like the affordable, the thinking behind the affordable housing?
More even affordable than that, because we'll talk about that. I have something to say about affordable housing.
Okay. It's not affordable,
It's not affordable at all.
So what does
Soshiaki advocating, doing community interventions, community requested interventions in places. So our projects, so I said the playgrounds, the reading nooks, also consultation on housing, because these are not people who can afford, like, build me a new house. But if we come into your room, we know that, okay, this is why your room is stuffy. Can we put an opening here? Can we rearrange the flow? Retrofitting existing buildings, and also advocacy. So that's also a big part as well. Talking, and with a show like this, thanks for having me on, talking about the need to help. And I think it's a thing architects and architecture students could also do more of, to give back to the people who help them get trained.
Let's go to policy. I mean, Ghana's housing deficit is a subject of a lot of conversation. I mean, depending on who you talk to, they may say 1.8 million housing deficit, or some may give a different figure. How can policy reform help us to bridge this gap? Because really, I mean, a person must live somewhere.
Yeah. The state has to get back into the business of housing.
As in the actual provision?
Yes. So a lot of these flats we have are all in Nkrumah era housing provision.
There are some who advocate heavily against it, because, I mean, you go to Kaiser Flats in Pema.
Yeah.
It was run down because it was built by state. Snake Flats.
Not because it was built by state, but it was poorly maintained, and again, like you said, the mindset around what it was. A lot of not educating and developing the right mindset about maintaining it.
But others will say, listen, provide the enabling environment, let the private sector go into it and stay out of it.
We've tried the enabling environment for so long. And I think there are certain things that, for me, strongly are the job of the state and should not make a profit.
And you think housing is one of them?
Not housing in general. So not everybody needs it. You and I do not need the state to give us a house, but some people do. And another thing with the state housing provision, I think that made it become so unpopular, was that people did not leave, even when they were in a position to be able to afford their own. So people buy their apartments from the state. And it's happening all over the world. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in the US, like the two places
where
I've been.
For the model?
Well, because they are buying, it's the same issues. People are buying the houses, and it's not there for those who need it. So, for instance, and I know people will be mad about this, but like housing on school compounds, university compounds, it's supposed to be there, these small buildings, for the fresh teacher, the fresh university lecturer who comes. So as you are building your income and building your life, building your family, you live in there. Then when you are in a position where you have money, then you move out, you go and build your house, you go.
If you ever go back to campus.
I already know, I have one prof that I know is listening. We'll fight later, it's okay.
You don't mind the fight?
I don't mind, because I strongly believe it. You think
senior lecturers should move out of buildings? And
those who can afford to. And not just like, because it's a thing we build. So we also have to make it such that a senior lecturer can afford to. Because to be fair, some cannot, because famously, for a while, university jobs were famously underpaid. So we built a structure such that it's how Nkrumah intended it to be. It's a starter, like some of these homes are starter. There are different levels. If when you work for the state, when you are working for the government, you live in them, but we pay you enough and we provide an enabling environments, like you said, so that you can move into your private sector home when you no longer need it.
Let's sign up on sustainability. You've recommended the work of people like Francis Curry. And let me just give you a quote from Francis before I even ask you the question. He says, if we learn to build with local materials, we have a future. And we've talked a bit about local materials, but let's just ask how you are inspiring young Ghanaian architects to embrace sustainable and African-centered ways of doing what you do in architecture.
Yeah, I'll start by saying that I think young African architects are amazing. They're doing so much already with so little. They're so, like, people email me all the time. I'm amazed by how much they know, how hungry they are for knowledge, how hungry they are to make a change. So a lot of it is just keep doing what you're doing.
Add a trip to Yaoundé.
Add a trip to Yaoundé and give more of yourself, right? Putting yourself in service to others is also good for you. It helps you as well, right? Yeah. So for me, I'll say keep doing what you're doing and think more of how you can serve, especially the systems and the people who have made your life and your training possible.
So Thinkathon has a special feature always,
yes.
And we'll take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you that one big thought that if the whole world is listening, Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, what is your one big thought right after this break?
Yes.
This is Springboard, a virtual university, and this conversation with Dr. Kuukuwa Manful about architecture, the culture, the context, the climate, and how we should rethink what we do. And at the end of an hour of conversation, Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, for Ghanaians watching who want to shape a sustainable future for our cities, what is your one game-changing idea you want us to carry away with us?
Yes. I've already said it a bit, but I think the big thing is actually affordable housing for people in our cities. It will lead to so much more freedom, freedom to experiment, freedom to take risks for young people, comfort for older people, just a basic level, almost like the basic income, basic level of housing available for people. And it's going to remove so much of the problems that we have in our city today. Less than 1 minute.
Excellent. My one idea is that if we can't feed ourselves, we can't have a conversation. Yeah. So I think that we must build a country where everyone can be fed without struggle.
Yes.
And you are saying that your one idea is that we must aim to be able to build affordable housing for every single person
Basic
in
housing
this country.
For everyone has
If you were to
access.
rate what you have done so far in the affordable housing culture or efforts or interventions, from a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, what score would you give?
Because I'm an annoying teacher, I'll split it. So there's my theory and my practice. My practice, I'll say I'll give myself a 5, potentially going up as I'm getting more experienced and more senior in my career. Research, I'll say I'm more, maybe an 8, maybe a 9. I'll give myself good mark because I have done a lot of
Let me
research.
ask you the question again.
Yes.
Ghana's efforts at affordable housing so far. If you were to mark Ghana's affordable housing efforts so far, in the light of your one idea, where would you place us on a scale of 1 to 10?
Pre-1970, we were a solid 8. Now, we are like a 2.
What went wrong?
We have time for it.
Let's promise to do this again when you swing by again from Michigan. But let me just give you a minute to wrap up your thoughts as we end this conversation, Dr. Manful.
Yeah.
1 minute to wrap up your thoughts.
Okay, yeah. But again, thank you for having me. I think the show is amazing. I like the idea of bringing experts and with the way that Albert asks these questions to make them really accessible, because I know I can be a bit verbose sometimes because I'm used to academic presentations. So yes, I just loved it. And I always say with young people, you are doing amazing already and you can do more. And for people like us that have come before, what we would do is to make life easier for you. We'll make the path smoother so that you can walk behind us more easily.
Next time I'm in Michigan, I know where to go. Come and sit in your class and then mark you from 1 to 10. What do you think I'll give you?
I think I'll get a 10.
Wow. Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I have.
Yeah.
Architecture can be a funky subject if you do it the right way. I've enjoyed listening to your thoughts, and I think you've got a hang of it. And I'm thinking probably I should be the next Joado to build some clay and bamboo house, and people will come from all over the world to come and watch me.
Yeah.
Really, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been Springboard, your virtual university, trying to redefine the climate, the culture, the context of architecture with Dr. Kuukuwa Manful, brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. My name is Albert Okran. On behalf of our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News TV, and the Springboard channel, I want to say God bless you, and God bless you.